So if you're looking at getting into flipping property, you want to know how you can get started buying properties, doing them up, selling them on for massive profits, then the best advice I can give you, having bought over 40 properties, is you need to firstly become an expert, truly become an expert at understanding what a good flip deal is. If you can do that, the rest, everything else you need to know will fall into place. Everything else you need to do will fall into place. Once you understand what a great deal is, get that wrong, everything else becomes really, really difficult. So what I mean by that is understanding and recognizing what a great deal is working backwards. So you know what your end value is going to be on a property that you plan to refurbish or you plan to buy. You know what the end value is before you even get started. Once you know what the end value is, you can determine what your true buying and selling costs are going to be. So it's not just the refurb cost, as important as that is going to be. It's also going to be your stamp duty, your legal fees, insurance, agent fees when you come to sell the property. There's a whole bunch of other costs that you need to factor in to understand what your true profit is going to be, and therefore what your margin is going to be. So what you can actually offer on a property to be able to make it all worthwhile. So here's my guide. There's a bit of subjectivity here. People have different ideas in terms of what is a good profit. But for me personally, I look for a minimum 20% return on investment from total cost. So if your total costs are 100K, for easy maths, you're looking at a 20K profit from that deal as an absolute minimum. Now, a lot of deals I've done have surpassed that, but I look for that as an absolute minimum. And that gives you enough of a margin to be able to, if you need to reduce your price if the market goes the wrong way. If anything unforeseen happens, you can still make a generous profit. You can factor in finance costs if you're borrowing money to do a deal, and you can still make a generous profit. That's a minimum. So for easy maths then, so 100K in, you want to see 20K profit. That includes everything. So that includes all your buying and selling costs as well, not just the purchase price. And once you've understood that, and you've understood in detail what a good deal is, and what the numbers are going to actually be to work, then everything else becomes a lot easier for you. And the next thing you need to make sure you do before buying a deal or buying a property is to make damn sure you're buying in the right area. Because profit on paper is no good. It's cash in the bank quickly that matters when it comes to flipping property. Flipping property is a short-term transaction. That's how it should be. You should be in and out of that deal fairly quickly, in around 6 months or so in most cases. From the point you buy the property, keys in your hand, to the point you sell the property, cash in the bank on sale, you're looking at around 6. Now, it can take a little bit longer in some cases, but not by much, or it shouldn't be by much. So realistically, that's what you're looking at. So it's short term. So for that to happen, you need to buy in areas of high demand. You need to understand on a street by street basis with local agents what areas you should be buying and which ones you should avoid. What are the type of properties as well? Are they flats, houses, bungalows that are in high demand in those particular areas? And therefore you understand in advance what you should be offering on a property and where you should be offering on properties to make this strategy work. It's really important that you understand what a good deal is. If you understand what a good deal is, then everything else will follow. What I mean by that is if you can get great at finding deals, money will follow. Now, there can be some skepticism around this. A lot of people think it's really hard to raise finance to fund property deals. There are countless examples of entrepreneurs who have funded their businesses using other people's money. But for some reason, people seem to think property, it's hard to do for whatever reason. The reality is the first flip I ever did was funded by somebody else. I used someone else's money to fund that project. And I've done that so many times since. I've raised millions of pounds of private finance of other people's money to fund my flip projects. So a lot of it for many people is around mindset, knowing that it's possible to actually raise finance. But it all comes back to the deal, because if you can identify, you can recognize a really good flip deal that stacks up, then the finance will follow. Because when you really think about it, there are many people out there who've got cash in the bank that's not working hard enough for them. They're not getting enough return on that money. So if you can present an opportunity where they invest with you and they can get a better return, then You can reassure them that it's ultimately a great deal and there's low risk because their money is protected against the asset that they're buying. You can do what's called a first charge, like a mortgage lender would get when they're lending on a property. And you've got the right documents, you're using the right loan agreements to protect their money and protect your interests as well. Then why wouldn't they invest with you if the deal makes sense? Now, there might be some nervousness initially, of course, that's normal. And it's up to you to reassure them that you've got a good enough deal, but it all comes back to that great deal. So if the deal's good enough, there's enough profit in there for you to get paid for the deal, for your time on that deal, and for your investor to get paid as well. So understanding it's possible to raise money is really important, but it all starts with a deal. So if you can identify that deal, if you can ultimately then know how to manage the project from start to finish, get that profit in, then you can raise finance as many times as you want. This is why this strategy is so powerful. But without knowing what a good deal is, none of this is possible. So become an expert at finding a great deal. Get out there, speak to agents in your local area, know where to buy, know what to buy, understand the true numbers of buying and selling properties. So you're getting quotations from contractors to know what your refurb costs are going to be. You've understood your true buying and selling costs. You understand all of them. And you can factor in enough margin so you can offer on a property with confidence, knowing that you actually have enough profit to make it all worthwhile. So become an expert at finding deals, and the rest in terms of raising finance, in terms of being able to put this all together, becomes a hell of a lot easier. So hopefully that's useful for you. If so, go ahead, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and you'll see me again in the next one soon.